So in this episode, I sit down with Alice Taylor. Alice won a third place finish at an Ironman, which is one of the biggest endurance races that you can do. And she did not have the easiest run. She talks about all the different pieces of adversity running up to that, including the training and on the day. Right, Alice, thanks very much for coming on. I really appreciate your time doing this. This is a very interesting one for me because Ironman racing is something that I've thought about in the past, especially like before I had the arthritis and everything. It was something that like intrigued me because I've always been into endurance stuff. So for you, I know this episode's really talking about what it takes, you know, to not only get to an Ironman race but overcome some obstacles along the way as well, and also do very well in it. So that'd be interesting. But are you okay to, firstly, for anyone that doesn't know what an Ironman race is, are you okay to explain a little bit about what that actually is?
Yeah, it is a 2.4 mile swim initially, and then straight into a 112 mile bike, and then finally a marathon at the end.
Nice. That's a full marathon at the end.
Yeah, full marathon at the end.
And a 2.4 mile swim to start.
Yeah.
Now, I know from looking at some of the rules around it, you have a certain time cut off, is it, to be able to complete that first swim?
Yeah, I must admit I'm a little bit vague with the cut-off times, but I know I'm not the best swimmer, and I managed to make the cut-off. I feel like there's quite a lot of leeway with it. I think even if you were to kind of breaststroke round, often there's a fair bit of leeway, but I think with the Ironman that I did, it was more a lot of people get cut off with the bike. Every section has a limit on it. I think you've got 17 hours, I think, to kind of complete the whole thing. But if you've not got by a certain point, you do get cut off the course. So
do they just come over and just kind of say, right, like, you've missed the cut-off and that's it?
I think they just stop you because there's no way you're going to get in within 17 hours if you've not done the bike course in a certain time. Also because the course is so hilly, there's just no way. And it is a lapped course, so there's kind of marshals stopping people carrying on. So,
I suppose with the swim, because I imagine the swim is the one that people probably worry about the most, I'd assume. There's probably a lot of anxiety in people around that swim to actually get through the first stage, because you put all that training on the bike and you might never get to see the bike.
Yeah, it was definitely my weakest
discipline. Okay, so going back, so it was the Bolton one, just to clarify, wasn't it? It was the Bolton one, What made you choose that one? Was it just like because it was the closest, or was there something about that course?
Yeah, so it was mainly because I decided that was, with it being so local, that for family and friends to be able to support me, I just decided it was better to do that one. I was debating doing easier, kind of flatter ones for my first one. I say first, it is my last as well. My aim was only to do one, and I didn't want to do another one. So I was a little bit apprehensive about entering Bolton just because I'd been told about how difficult it was. But then in my head, I kind of thought it'd be quite nice to know that I've done, quite a difficult one. It was mainly just I kind of wanted my family and friends to be able to be there.
So like it was like just a bit more convenience as well to get in that one. It just happened to be one of the harder ones.
Yeah, that's it. And also the training, I could recce the course and know all the hills and all the technical descents and everything before the day.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Going back to the moment then you decided that you wanted to do an Ironman, how did that come about? I kind of mainly decided to do it because in 2017 my dad had a brain injury, and at the time I hadn't really done any sort of triathlon events or anything, but I just kind of decided that life is just so precious and things can change so easily that, if you really want to kind of do something in life, you can do it, no matter what obstacles are kind of in the way. I feel like a lot of people
not make excuses, because I just think each to their own, you do whatever you like to do, but often people say they haven't got time and things like that, and if you do really want to do something, you find time. Now I couldn't ever imagine having the time or wanting to ever find the time to do that training ever again, but if you needed to, you make it if you really wanted to do it. That's it.
So at that time then of your dad's brain injury, and you had that moment when you kind of realised life is short, it's precious, what was it about the physical challenge of doing something so big, because you could have went a lot of different directions, in terms of you could go anywhere with it really. What was it about that particular thing that really attracted you to it?
I was already very much into my fitness, obviously before I entered that sort of thing anyway. I've never really drank or anything like that, and for me, from a young age, I've always been into like the outdoors, exercise, so it was always on my radar that do something
like that. So something like triathlon. Did you do a triathlon? Did you do a shorter triathlon first?
In 2019 I did my first ever triathlon. I initially entered a half Ironman as my first one, and then someone said you should probably do a smaller one. I was kind of already doing all the distances, and it was mainly just to get the transitions right, so I did do a smaller one, a standard distance one, and then straight from doing the half Ironman I just decided to enter the full. But at the time I was going through a divorce, as well as my dad obviously having his brain injury, so I had entered it quite quickly after doing my half, and it was supposed to be July 2020, but I can't remember how much out. It was a couple of months out from the race. It was cancelled because of COVID, so that's why it was 2021 instead.
And talking about like kind of obstacles and adversities to go through, you've got two things really that you're looking at there. You've got obviously the injury to your dad, and a common thing is kind of going through a divorce with people, and I do know sometimes physical activity and other things that can keep your mind off that situation. It'd be good to kind of touch on that as well, which I will do, if that's okay. And just going back quickly to, like, one thing I was looking at there was the shorter distances around triathlon. What is the standard, like, short, if someone's going to get into something like Ironman, what is the beginning part of the triathlon?
I think there is a sprint that's the smaller one. I want to say it was maybe like a 400 or 600 metre swim for the standard, and then it was like maybe 26 miles on the bike and a 10k run. I know there's a smaller one, but for me, just because I'm not very good running or swimming, it's the bike that I prefer a longer bike basically. So, the smaller distance, I want to say maybe the sprint is 400 metres swim. And I know it's a 5k run at the end, but...
What was it like getting into the swimming for the first time? So obviously that would be the one that's the most difficult for you. What was that first swim like? Do you remember it? And did you have much confidence after that, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I'd never experienced getting in a lake, jumping into a lake with loads of other people flapping their arms around me. Very much did feel like I was a sardine in a tin, like everyone just whacks you, kicks you. But yeah, I just kind of pretended that it was just my normal training, and I knew I was never gonna, I'm not a quick swimmer, but just had to kind of stay calm, because I know if there was any element of the triathlon that was going to get me, it'd be the swim. So yeah.
When you go, and when we talk a little bit about then the obstacles, and what you mentioned around dealing with your dad at the time, and dealing with going through a divorce, how did the training help you with any of that stuff?
I suppose back then it was like the main thing that was kind of like keeping me positive, and it was like, obviously on the days that I had my son, I couldn't do as much training, but like every day was revolved around what training I needed to do. And I think just having that focus and that positive thing to like look forward to, like even if I was, you know, I'd be on like an 11-hour shift some days, and then I'd often double up my training on my evenings. I didn't have my son, because obviously everything was around him. But yeah, it didn't matter how tired I was after a long shift at work. It was always looking forward to getting my training done. And you know, back then it was kind of a case of I wanted to basically just train, shower, sleep, get up, train, and that's kind of how it was. I was obviously working full time as well, so yeah, it was just fitting it all in really.
Was that so with everything going on, kind of away from all that, was it like a bit of an escape to it, or did your mind, was you able to like just focus on the training then, or did those kind of thoughts of everything outside of, you know, that training start to slip into your mind throughout?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a massive, you know, such a like a big thing for it. It's like sorry, I'm getting
no, it's okay, don't worry.
Please could you say that again?
do not worry. So thinking about things like your dad's, you know, injury and stuff and as well, and going through that divorce, was the training itself like a little bit of an escape to all of that stuff for you? Yeah,
definitely. I would visit my dad in hospital, and then like sorry.
It's all right, don't worry, you're okay. I suppose as well, it's quite difficult, isn't it, thinking about it, you know, thinking back. That'll be sometimes where you struggle. Because I think at the time, I think we spoke on the phone, didn't we, and I was explaining about my dad and stuff at the time as well. And it was like that similar time around COVID.
Yeah.
By the way, do not worry about, like, you can take your time completely with any of this, because it does happen. It's a hard thing sometimes to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
No, don't worry, honestly. I was drinking everything as well, it's no problem. The training definitely helped you, it sounds like, in terms of you just got to, if it's anything like me, do you just kind of like get into a zone and you just start training? You just start like pushing? Yeah. How long was the training sessions for?
They all varied really. My swimming was just a case of I'd go to the swimming baths at like 6 a.m. in the morning before work, and it was just a case of swim as many lengths of it as I could within the hour, or depending on how long it was. The longest I kind of swam was really just like an hour. In an evening it would often be like an hour and a half on my bike, and then straight into a brick run of like 9 miles or so. That I kind of, a lot of the time I wasn't finishing till it was like 11 o'clock at night, after I'd finished obviously work and then got everything else in. So that was one of my questions, because when you would think about an Ironman, you think about time that it takes to be able to train for that event. And obviously I've got the kids as well, and I suppose for me it's quite difficult to imagine when that training happens and how I would do it. So what did a typical day of training look like for you? So when you kind of woke up in the morning, you mentioned you do stuff at 4 a.m. What did that typical day look like for you? So like on the mornings I didn't have my son, that was my time to get my swimming in. And like I had my son for half of the week, so I could obviously get training in quite well around that, other than obviously doubling up on some days. But it was kind of like up at 5 a.m. in the morning. On the mornings I didn't have my son, and on the mornings I did have him, I'd do the bike because I could obviously do that while he was sleeping. And then, it would be like work 8 till 7 some days, and obviously other days it'd be like 6 o'clock, and then once I'd finished it'd be just straight home. Often I would commute to work on the bike so that I could do like a 45-mile bike ride after work, get in and then get my trainers on and go for a run. It was full on really. Yeah,
because that's the one thing that I struggle with, you know, thinking about anything like as a big event like that. It's like thinking about when to actually fit that in. It's rare. I suppose for like loads of people, especially if you don't have kids, I assume it's probably a little bit easier to fit all that training in. But when you've got, you know, a child that you're having to like manage with that as well. That's where the struggle is. Was you always just focused on that, like, you know, when you're doing these races and when you're doing this training, are you always just focused on the event? Are you always thinking about like trying to just be the best in the event, or is it just like that day-to-day routine that you're enjoying?
Yeah, I mean, I never wanted to be at all. I wasn't bothered about being competitive in the event at all. It was all just making sure that I completed it. I didn't want to have to do another one, so I wanted to be able to finish it and be comfortable and not get near, you know, any danger of the cut-offs or anything. So yeah.
How did you feel yourself? So that's something that I'm always interested in, because obviously doing what I do as a PT, you know, a lot of the work that we do is around nutrition and so on.
Yeah.
Like, how did you feel yourself for those type of days, putting in that amount of miles?
Yeah, I was very, very tired. A lot of my friends and my family had said I was not the nicest to be around, just because I feel like, I suppose I was obviously just completely drained a lot of the time. And it kind of, it didn't matter how tired I was, I could always do didn't matter what the session was, even if I'd had like a really awful day at work, it was always, it didn't matter what it was, I could always just get it done, really.
Yeah, exactly. So no matter what, like however the day, if you was, you know, like certain events that come up in life, so like if there's like meals and stuff to go for or things like that, you know, other things that kind of pop up and possibly get in the way. Yeah. Would you do those things, or would you just be still focused on getting your training in first?
Yeah, so I didn't really do a lot of social things. Kind of, I obviously would meet up with family members, mainly my sister. Obviously, because COVID was obviously in there, obviously that was taken away a little bit because you couldn't really do a lot of social things. But obviously training that I'd done prior to COVID, I definitely did sometimes miss out on social things. If it was like friends, obviously family would always take priority, but often I would be, I need to fit this in. But if I did do a social thing, it was very much, it would never get missed. My training was always done. I'd even got on the turbo at midnight till 2 a.m, like it never got missed. Nice. I was very dedicated to doing it.
Doing it in COVID time then, so obviously you can't go out, you've got stuff in the house that you're doing, and so are you doing that, like as you say, with your son and stuff like that? Are you just doing that at all hours, just training through the night, like you say? Is that how you're fitting some of that stuff in? Yeah,
so sometimes it was physically impossible to get it done, and sometimes if I couldn't get it done in the morning for whatever reason, it would be waiting for my son to go to sleep so I could do it at the night time. And as we know with kids, they don't always go to bed as easy as they should. So sometimes it was very late at night, I was just obviously lucky that he was a deep sleeper, but it kind of was all hours of the day, but it did always get done, really. It was,
When you got to race day then, so when you make it to the Ironman and you're on the day, what's the type of feelings, knowing that you've put so much time into training and so much time and thought and sacrifice into it? What's the feelings on the day of that race?
So I obviously was really nervous, mainly because I didn't want to have to do another one. I'll admit, the thought of having to ever train for that again, but also because at the time of my Ironman race, I was in a much better place. I had my own place then, and everything was much better. So I was almost relieved for knowing that when I finish this, that's like almost like I'd got through that like tough part of my life, all because of kind of doing that event, really. I'd been focused, obviously, because COVID delayed it for what felt like it was like nearly 2 years of training. So it was kind of, I was kind of excited to not have to do all that heavy training.
I suppose that's one thing as well, isn't it? As a bit of a piece, as an obstacle for you along the path, the fact that you're training like had to last so long because
Yeah.
of COVID. How long would you have, if it wasn't for COVID, kind of in the middle of all that, how long would that training have just lasted? How long was you meant to be doing that for?
Well, I only entered in the 2019. I think it was like maybe September. I didn't really give myself much chance to train for it if it was in 2020. And obviously, because all my training was mainly obviously on the turbo, and it was difficult in COVID times, that I was very much glad that it got extended, but mainly so that I felt happier knowing that I'd put everything in that I kind of could have, just because having my own place, I could get a treadmill and I could also do brick runs inside when I had my son, whereas I couldn't do that before.
When you say brick runs, what does that mean?
So just going straight from cycling, put your trainers on, out for a run. So I couldn't do that when I lived in my room. So I only had access just to the turbo, which was obviously better than nothing. But because I did live within a shared house, there was other people in the house. So sometimes if it was late at night that I was doing my bike, I could get on my bike, get off, and I would literally do loops of 0.2 miles just because my bedroom window was literally there and I could just do loops of runs. But there was also someone in the house anyway, so it was fine. But I was very much glad for that delayed start.
Well, I think when you look back at it as well, like even just living in a shared house and being in that environment, it just everything's quite against you, isn't it? Really, to the norm. Probably when you assume other people's, we can't assume, but to be other people's difficult situations as well. But it's not the easiest environment, is it, to be training for something like something as big as this? Throughout the race, was there ever a time that you thought you wasn't going to complete it?
No, there wasn't really. I did, whenever I thought about the race prior to doing it, I always felt that like really emotional about it. The only time I was emotional really was just when I saw my son. But there wasn't. I felt very strong, and I feel like by the point of the race, I'd already got such a strong mindset that it doesn't matter how awful and heavy-legged you feel and how knackered you feel, I can always just carry on and carry on. Like, other than just quickly stopping to give my son a kiss, I never walked. It was always, and I feel like that contributes just to everything in life, that it doesn't matter how hard something is, you can always as long as you keep on going, you can kind of get through it. But it's definitely made me have a very strong mindset now for being able to do that.
And do you think like your mindset around that grew as your training went on and to the race itself? Is that something that doing that Ironman's like helped you develop? Yeah,
definitely. I don't know. I just think. So, often when you've had like a long day at work and you really can't be bothered, there was days where, I couldn't really be bothered because I was tired. But I just think your mind is such a powerful thing. And if your mind wants to do it, your body has to do it too. And I feel like, often that was the case for me. Some weekends I'd do 100 miles on the bike, and then I'd do, my peak, it was 20-mile run the next day. And I'd always do a very hilly run. My legs were absolutely knackered, but I never ever walked. It was always just push through the pain. I could always do it, and I feel like that did kind of go to almost like I'm trying to get do you know what I mean? Like, you can make it part of your life as well in certain situations.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, has that event kind of helped you in other situations now in your life that you did, and just your day-to-day things now? Is that still with you a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even after Ironman passed, as much as I didn't do all the crazy training, I've still always loved the structure of having my training week in, week out. I do feel like if I ever come across anything, I mean, since, living in the shared house and getting my house, I've not had anything, you know, obviously that's quite an extreme thing to kind of go through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely feel like because of that, I've got a very strong mindset, and throughout all of that, I did obviously have my training, but there was never a moment where I felt like I couldn't do it. It was always looking ahead and knowing that I was always going to get through, and at some point I would have my own house and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I just think exercise on a whole, is brilliant.
I mean, I'm going to talk about what your life looks like now in terms of exercise, because I know it's a lot different. It's not as extreme.
Yeah.
But for people that are going through times that they might feel is quite overwhelming, but they do have, they've got any form of goal that they're still trying to achieve, like what would you say to them?
I would just say really to kind of just take each day as it comes, really, and there'll always be setbacks, there'll always be days where you feel that you really can't be bothered, or but yeah,
it's tough. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because thinking about it from other people's point of view is quite challenging.
Yeah.
When you're so just invested in your time and your energy that you've been doing it. What was the feeling like then when you actually got on, to that podium? You came third. Was it like a relief, or was you just really happy about it? Like, what was that feeling like when you completed it and done well?
Well, I never set out to get anywhere. I did just want to cross over the finish line. I had absolutely no idea what place I was in. I never knew. So it was only, I think, a mile before the finish that someone shouted that I was in third place. I kind of didn't really...
At that time, when they shouted something to you, did you not realise that you was in that position?
No, I didn't have a clue, because it was just, I was in a lot of pain, kind of mentally and physically, because I was absolutely exhausted. Even once I'd finished, it didn't really kind of sink in, because finishing place didn't really mean anything to me. I just wanted to get over, because that was kind of my goal. But yeah, even like on the next day, it was like an awards presentation. It was COVID, so you couldn't have anyone stood next to you on the podium, and that's why there's only me there. I didn't actually attend the awards ceremony. There was a ceremony, but obviously it's COVID, so it was very different. Like, we all had to have temperature checks and things before the race went ahead. But yeah, I suppose just because, to me, I wasn't really bothered about being placed. I didn't really want to go to the award ceremony. So
it was just actually
it was just. I was obviously very happy that I came away with a trophy and things, but it didn't.
That wasn't the biggest driving factor for
you.
What is it looking like now? So you've kind of come away from that, haven't you? And now it's, as you said, that was like your first and last time doing it. Why would you not do it again? And what does exercise now look like for you?
So I wouldn't ever do another one. I love triathlon, and I think if I was to ever do another one, it would just be like a smaller distance. Whether that be, I'd probably say a half Ironman for me would maybe be like the kind of limit for me, just because I feel that doing a half doesn't take over your life like what a full does. And yeah, for me, it was very much just because of the place I was in at the time. I needed something big to kind of have the focus of mainly training in my life. But yeah, now it's, I suppose, ever since Ironman kind of finished, I was obviously in a much happier place. I didn't have the need to want to be moving constantly. I had a much more laid back approach, and as much as I still did have my structure of my training, I could do things like walking with people, and I could do that for a couple of days and not worry about what I was missing in my training. And I suppose, just because I was in a happy place now, and after my Ironman, I just slowed down a lot. I could, even just basic things like going for a meal, I could do that. I went for a meal with my mum. I think it was like a month or so after Ironman, and that felt like something that was a luxury because I just never had time to really
because of that sacrifice of doing it. Do you think at the time, that you could have done that Ironman training and everything that you'd done if you wasn't in such a place of, pain with a few things that were going on in your life? Do you think you would have been able to like dig in and get through it all?
No, I mean, I know people compete in Ironmans, year in, year out, but for me, that isn't, there's more to life than just training. And if you're doing an Ironman and you want to kind of do, I know there's different kind of training loads that everyone has, but for me, I want to, as much as I didn't want to get placed or anything, I want to, feel good about the race and be able to kind of do it, not with ease, but just knowing that I've done everything. And I feel like I would never, touch wood, be in that sort of place to ever want to allow that sort of training ever again. So for you now, is it a bit more about balance, and what benefits do you get now yourself from just the training that you're doing currently? I just think it's massively important to stay fit and healthy for loads of different reasons, really. One, obviously I've got my son. I want to be that mum that's fit and active and being able to do whatever he wants to do. We do a lot of hiking and things together. Nice. But yeah, I just for me now, I do a lot of hiking and things like that. Everything's just slower paced, and it will always be a big part of my life, being, doing my cycling. It's mainly just cycling that I do now, bits of running, but it's just nice that I can do whatever, plan a weekend away and not worry about having to fit in what exercise I need to get in. It's Are you, the last thing from me really, are you happy, like when you look back at it, are you happy that you did all that? Are you happy that you went through all that and competed and the whole process? Would you do anything different, or are you happy with the way that went? Yeah, I think there's nothing really I'd change. I think if I didn't have that big goal, that focus, I'm not really sure how I would have even got through that time of my life. It was such a massive focus that I just think if I didn't have that, I would have really struggled. It was. I think listening to you, it was obviously a very difficult time for you, wasn't it? With like a lot of things going on. Yeah. And I think, this coming here today and talking about it, I think is actually all still just part of that same journey. Kind of like almost debriefing the whole thing. And I think just the fact that obviously, you did get upset, it just shows like how much that, do you know what I mean? How much that time was difficult for you. Yeah. And you can see that the pain that's still in that, and the fact that you can see why that training kind of really helped. And I think with with what we talk about in the adversity piece, I think that it does show and highlight how something like training and to whatever level, you went to, you went to the extremes with it, really. But I think it just highlights, what training just in general can do for somebody, like mentally. Like you seem to be that your mind has been the thing that was the strongest, and your body just kind of followed along with it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you going into that. I know that wasn't the easiest for you, but I know for a fact, and this is why we do the podcast, I know for a fact that there's going to be people that are feeling overwhelmed and are going through things, and they will listen to you, and they will see that, there is, some physical stuff that can be done to help with it. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's okay. Thank you. No worries.